Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Pamela Hopkins. Little Rock, Arkansas native, Pamela Hopkins is a singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. Her first Nashville album of all original music was released in February 1995, and she got back into the studio, recording her second album EP project that was released in October of 2018. Pamela also released 2 singles in 2019. But then Pamela got back in the studio in the spring of 2020 in Franklin, Tennessee, to record her next 4 singles with Off the Row recording studio as one of their breakout artists. She has since released 2 more singles with more to come. She is super excited to let her fans hear her new co-written songs that are being released throughout the year. You can find her music on all digital streaming platforms. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Pamela Hopkins. Hey, Pamela, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Kimberly?
I am doing nice. I'm doing great. I'm just glad to be breathing. I guess that's important. Because I wouldn't be talking
Always
to you, right?
To be 6 feet above and 6 feet below. I agree.
Exactly. Oh, well, I'm excited to have you on tonight, and I'm so looking forward to hearing your story, Pamela, because it sounds like that you have been doing this for quite some time, and now you're back into the fray again, and hey, I'm excited to just hear all about it. So before we actually get into some of those interview questions, why don't you just tell my listeners a little bit more about who Pamela Hopkins really is?
Well, I wear many hats, I think, like all of us women do. I'm a mom, and a mom of 3, and also, full-time career person as well. I've held 3 careers before my music career, and now I'm a musician and, business owner and woman entrepreneur, all that good stuff. I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I tell people I give you the shirt off my back, but I'm not going to take no crap off of you either. That's who I am.
Well then, alrighty then. I like this already. Sound like my kind of woman.
I got a little bit of an attitude sometimes.
Well, you know what? We all
but
do.
I'm nice. I tell people I'm nice.
I love it. Look, you're my type of person, so that's exactly who we are, and it's okay. You don't have to apologize for that, and I love all the many hats that you wear and have worn and are continuing to move forward in your career in the music industry. So we're going to backtrack just a little bit because you talked about that you had been in 3 other different careers. So talk a little bit about the journey that you were on and how it led you back or even getting started into music. So,
I did what most high school kids do. I go to college, and let me back up a little bit. I started, being involved in music probably in 5th grade. 4th grade, I got hearing tested for, I guess they still had an orchestra back then in elementary school, and they were testing all the students for hearing to see if they could hear pitch. And apparently I could hear pitch really well. So they, Miss Miyake, my orchestra teacher, called my mom and said, hey, we really want her to join, the orchestra. She has an ear for music. And my mom was like, what? I know, but no. How much is this going to cost me? And they said, well, we want her to play cello. And so we're going to let her borrow the school cello. And that's how it all started in the music, the music way, and picked up, I've always loved to sing since I was little. And so that kind of was natural to me as well. Junior high school, in high school, I went to magnet school for music and had to take a little bit of piano lessons in school. That was part of the curriculum, and went to college. Like I said, always loved, especially in high school, really, really, really loved singing. Was the thing that I really enjoyed, but wasn't sure how to pursue anything. And so I would go to little karaoke contests or what have you, and start winning them like when I was in high school and early college, and kind of had the opportunity to go to Nashville and cut my first album then. And some things happened in Nashville that I wasn't too fond of back when I was young. And back then, you didn't have the internet. So this is like back in, early to mid 90s, there wasn't the internet. So you couldn't just check up on people. You had to go by word of mouth.
Right.
And I didn't have a great experience there in Nashville, and things were promised that didn't happen. I felt like they're out to get your money. And I was just like, this is not for me. So went ahead and finished college, got married, and started doing what my husband did. And he was a police officer. He became one while we were together. And I was like, I have a degree in psychology, and I couldn't really find a better job back then. All the jobs were paying, and I know this sounds very menial now because we're talking about 2021. But in 1997, if you were paid $7.25 an hour, that was considered a pretty good job.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember back that far.
I do. I sure do.
Minimum wage was $4, and if you were making $7, wow, you were paid well. Well, the job that I had, I was a front desk clerk at a hotel coming out of college, and I was like, I got to find a career because my husband and I were getting married, and I'm still with my husband today that I married then. So I've been married one time. And I was like, I can't find anything better. And I'm kind of interested in what you're doing. So I did some ride-alongs with him, and I was like, this is kind of cool. Do you mind if I do this? I love helping people, And he was like, yeah, go ahead. And so I applied, got the job as a police officer, and I did that for like 13 years.
Wow.
So now I'll tell you my starting salary as a police officer, and only because I had a degree, was like $9.15 an hour as a police officer. Right. I know. Big time. I was making, if I did not have a degree, I would have been making $18,000 a year. And, but because I had a degree, I was making $19,000 a year. So I was like, there you go. That degree was worth it. And
wow.
I did that for a while, transferred to another police department that was paying a little better, which was the police department my husband was at, Sherwood, here in Sherwood, Arkansas. I started off at Jacksonville, Arkansas, and went to Sherwood, Arkansas. And in that time, I was teaching the DARE program. So I taught, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program. And I was in the schools as, officer friendly. And I was a school officer and, made lots of contacts and friends and just absolutely loved being around kids. And I got promoted to sergeant, and they moved me back out to the street. And I did that for 13 months total before I gave that career up. But about 9 months in, I decided, and my heart's not in this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I need to do something else. So I talked to my husband. I said, hey, I really loved being in the school. Do you mind if I go back and get my master's degree? And because, that's going to cost money. I have kids at this point. And I said, do you mind if I go back and get my master's degree and teach? And he said, yeah, that's whatever. He's always been real supportive. Like, whatever you want to do, babe.
Right.
Sounds good to me. Whatever you want to do. So I quit and got a job teaching under a provisional license and went to grad school at the same time as I was teaching. So taught for 5 years. My parents got sick. My dad got diagnosed with cancer again. My mom started having strokes. And the last year that I taught, I started doing music again. My husband and I went to a Steely Piano Bar in the next city over, and we had gone a few times before. And in between the first Nashville trip and this time of my life, I'd, go to karaoke, do competitions every now and then, but really focused on my career and my family that I was at right at that point. My kids got a little older. We went to a dueling piano bar, and I was like, I can do this. And it's like, that's what almost like re-sparked my soul. I still loved to sing the whole time, but I just didn't know a direction to go. Right. And got talking to one of the dueling piano players, and I said, how do I get into this? And he said, well, can you play piano? Because I'd gotten up and sang with him, and he was like, girl, you got some pipes. And I was like, well, I play a little bit of piano. And he's like, well, and got talking to him. He's like, well, how much piano do you play? I'm like, oh, yeah, which I was lying. I do play piano, but I did not play very well. And he was like, but if you show me, I can do this. And he was like, well, do this. He said, you go home, learn 30 songs, come back and see me.
Wow. So
about 5 months later, that's what I did. I banged on the piano at my house for, I'm telling you, hours every night. My kids heard, and my husband, because I did not have like an electric piano. I had a grand upright from 1918.
Oh,
and
wow.
I would play the same songs over and over and over again and and I taught myself how to sing and play at the same time, these popular songs, so I could get this job. And I went back and told the guy, I said, hey, I did it. He was like, what? He's like, lots of people come and talk to you about, wanting to learn how to play. You tell them what it takes and they don't ever come back.
Right, exactly.
And I came back. And he jokes with me about that today. He's like, this girl came back. And, he's like, she's one of the best voices in the business of what we do. And but my last year that I taught, I was going to the piano bar on Thursday nights and sitting in for free and learning. And eventually they were like, hey, do you want a part-time job? And because we could use the help, we could use the fill-ins. And so I would work like a Sunday night and a Thursday night or a Sunday, Monday, just slow night, getting my feet wet, and started doing that. And then my last year, that's when my parents got sick towards the end of the year. Plus I had a son that was diabetic. He's type 1 diabetic, been diabetic since he's 4. And at the time when you teach, you get 10 days off a year. And mine were gone every year just because of my kid, because he would be sick and couldn't go to school because his blood sugars were out of control. He's having to go to the doctor. And I found another job that allowed me the flexibility this was during the summer going into the year my last year that I would have taught, but I didn't. I was able to quit because during the summer as well, after my 5th year of teaching, my boss offered me a full-time job. And he said, do you want to play full-time? We'd love to have you. And that started the musical journey for me. And that was 8 years ago. So this summer is the eighth summer that I've been doing my dueling piano gig. But in that time, about 4 years in, I wanted to find my sound again. I wanted to find me again. Right. And because now I've got all these covers under control. I'm proficient on my instrument. I've now learned 2 other instruments in this time. And I started writing again and getting back in the studio and just working daily to be where I'm at today, which I'm still doing the dueling piano show. I'm able to travel all over the United States doing it and out of the country, and doing my solo gig as well. So I have a band, and we also perform. So that's my long, short.
I was like, wow, okay. I mean,
it's a lot. So I started off as a cop and then a teacher and a sales rep. Right now, my husband and I own our own territory with Balfour, and I'm a musician. So there you go.
Wow. I mean, when it's funny, I'll ask people their journey, but your journey has definitely been amazing. And the thing that I love about your journey and your story is that you tried different things, that where you could use your talents in ways that most people wouldn't even think about, because, when you start talking about singing, it's all, it's a dream that most people want to have and they want to pursue. And when you talked about the fact that when you went to Nashville the first time, it just really wasn't you, and the things, weren't promised. They didn't keep up with their promises. They didn't do what they said they were going to do. And, a lot of times people would have said, you know what, I'm never doing this again, and just walk away from it completely. And even though you went on and did other things, when you're a good singer and you love singing, you can never really give that up. And so to hear this journey that you went through between being an officer and a teacher and owning your own business and then going back into the studio and then playing at the piano, I mean, it's just amazing that you have done all that in your short period of life of living, and you're still out here doing you. And that is, I'm just sitting here like, wow, okay. I thought I was busy, but I think that
right.
You have...
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I was talking to a friend of mine because I want to write a book, and I was asking her the other day, she's my hairdresser, and I said, if I were to write a book, what do you think I would write about? Like, what would you see me writing about? And she looked at me, and she's known me for, coming up on 20 years. And she goes, honestly, your journey. She said, you have made career shifts and have been successful in every career shift you've made. It's like you're not scared. And he said, and I have thought about that. My mom said the same thing. She's like, people get into a career and they stay,
right,
whether they're miserable or not. And my mom has even told me it's remarkable how it doesn't matter what it is, you've made it work. Right. You've not been scared or frightened, and you were just like, hey, this is what my new goal is. This is where my passion is, and this is where I'm going. And my friend Tammy was telling me, she's like, she said, I think if you wrote it in a way to share your story and, in depth, obviously, because it would be a book, but to also know that might inspire other people to not stay in that dead end job and to pursue a dream, and like I told her, though, I said, with every career that I've had, I felt like that's where I needed to be at that moment in time.
Exactly.
It was never just, I wasn't like, well, I got to get a job. Let me go work at Wendy's or McDonald's or, a store just to fill the time to make a paycheck. I literally went after something my heart was into at the time. When I was a police officer and I worked with kids, I rose all the way to the top of our DARE association here in the state of Arkansas, where I was the president of our association. I got DARE Officer of the Year. I put my all into it. And same thing with, being a teacher. I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to teach,
Right.
And I still have students today that, were like, we loved having you. I taught English for the first 3 years in 7th and 8th grade. And one of the students that I had my first year, so when I say I have 3 kids, I actually have 4 because we helped raise her.
Oh, wow.
We brought her in, and she's in her mid-20s now, successful nurse, has, in fact, we just had her baby boy's second birthday party, and that's my grandbaby, and it's like I said, for somebody else to tell me, like, this is what I would see you writing a book about, how to inspire others to not get stuck in that day-to-day grind of something they hate and wasting their life.
Exactly.
And finding that passion and then going for it. Because how many people are singers? How many people are going, man, I'd love to, that's a big dream of mine, but they don't do the daily steps to make anything happen.
Right.
They just let life pass.
Right. And the thing that, when I'm listening to you talk, the passion that you have in your voice, it's just inspiring. So, you're not, like you said, it's not the fear. You have no fear, but that's where a lot of people do have, is that they're fearful of the outcome because they don't know what that outcome is. But what you have done is that you are a proven individual, person that can say, I've done A, B, C, D, E, and F, and every step that you have taken, you've put the time and effort into it. And that's the key to success. And like you said, it was something you didn't like, you didn't stay with it. You're like, hey, I've done this. This is my journey. I filled in the spot where I needed to be at the time, and it worked for you. And you were able to continue to move forward, but you also took what you needed to do. You got educated and everything that you needed to do. And to hear the story about the piano, that's the part I love the most, is that for somebody to tell you, you know what, if you want to come in here and play in this place, this is what you need to do. Learn these 30 songs and then bring your butt back here. And you did. It's like,
right.
It's almost unheard of for some people, because there's so many people today that want to cut corners. We live in a world of instant gratification. And so, when people say they want to do something, they have now more capability to get that instant gratification. And then when something stops, some people won't take the time to learn in order to move forward. And you have that capability, and you've done that, and you've made it your own. And now here you are again, back in the studio. Like you said, you travel all around the world, you singing, you've got your band, you have all these things going on. So I want to talk a little bit and hear more about the music side of you. So you have some new songs coming on, like I said, later on. Most people know we're going to definitely play one of your songs, and I listened to it, and I can't wait for everybody to hear it. I was like, you know what? I like this lady right here. So I love your music, and what I've heard, I've had the opportunity to hear it before anybody else may have heard it. But the thing, talk about the journey just in the music here in the last year. Obviously, we've had the pandemic going on last year, so things were a little different. And so how have you pivoted from that? What have you done differently, and what you got going on right now?
Well, so, coming into the pandemic, like I said, I've had the full-time job, luckily as a dueling piano player here in Arkansas, that I've been lucky enough to hone in the performing skills that, you need, and I'm getting paid to do it, which is awesome. So transferring that into my independent career, I had already planned to go into the studio last year. It was supposed to be in, I think, February or March. Then I think it was March is when it was, because I remember all of the stuff happening and then them kind of shutting stuff down. It's towards the end of March, and it got canceled, and we rebooked it when things started opening, at least to where people could travel and stuff. So it was like mid-May. But, I had started to write again, and it had been so long. I had all these ideas that I had partial songs and nobody to completely finish writing with, and I was kind of at a loss. So I was looking for songs to get back in the studio with, since 2019, and cut 4 in May of last year. Now, the pandemic obviously like halted some of that because my scheduling, I wanted to actually, start releasing songs in May, and it moved it to the end of June, which was fine. Like I said, I figured things happen for a reason, and people are put in your life, and, paths are created if you're willing to accept opportunities that come your way.
Mm-hmm.
We here in Arkansas, in my job, we're only 100% effective for about 6 weeks, where I was sitting here at home.
Mm-hmm.
But during that 6 weeks, I was able to get more ideas on paper, start writing a little bit more, and start making connections with other writers to finish these songs that I wanted to do. So I had 4 picked out. 2 were co-written, and 2 were written by a guy. His name is Jim Femino, and he's a famous songwriter out of Nashville. And I say that because he's had #1 hits with James Otto, back in 2007. So he's very well known, very well respected. 2 of my songs from last year's releases were his that I did, and then 2 were co-written by me. But just being able, I think, to have the time and not be so busy, and to be able to kind of calm down during the pandemic allowed me more connections in writing. So these next songs that I'm releasing, in fact, the first 2 that I've already released this year, Little Things and Giving a Damn Don't Go With My Outfit, as well as Back When, were all co-written. So from now on, I'm only doing co-written songs, which I'm pretty proud of, because, again, that's another step that I have in my goals, is to start earning money on the writing side. Okay. And still honing in these, the writing skills. And I'm meeting more and more writers that are well known in the industry, which I'm pretty proud of, because they're actually going, yeah, I want to write with her. I want to write with her. I want to write with her. And I'm like, that's freaking awesome, and then, and I didn't stop. A lot of people during the pandemic, because they weren't gigging, they weren't performing, stopped putting music out, or they were doing home recordings, at least in the country world,
Right.
I saw a lot of my friends that are not in country music putting out probably more music because they were doing more home studio stuff. I was actually like, no, I don't have any of that. I got to go to Nashville and do this. But, I'm going to tell you, I had saved up, I saved my money when I'm at the piano bar that I play with. I saved my tips, and that's how I ended up paying for, as an indie artist, we pay for everything up front, and you're praying you get a portion of it back.
Right.
It's so menial and so little that we get back, but you got to keep going forward. And so during the pandemic, I cut, like I said, the 4 songs, and then in October I cut 6 more, which are the ones that are coming out this year. And in December I cut another one, and I'm still writing, and I am trying to create a machine in myself that won't stop. So that I can just continue to grow and to grow and to grow. I worked on my fan base. I worked on, my website, and those things that you have to do daily to make something happen that like you were saying earlier, everybody wants the shortcut. There's not a shortcut.
That's right.
The shortcuts are few and far between. I mean, I'm talking about like it's a fraction of a percent that somebody has discovered and has not worked for it.
That's right.
It's generally these people who have worked for 10 years plus that people around them go, why aren't you famous? Why aren't you famous? Why aren't you famous? Well, it takes more of you to push me there. I would appreciate, you guys following me, and you guys, listening to my music and pushing that forward and sharing. And that's how you get our name out here if we're not on a record label, because the record label has money behind them. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in advertising and all that. So it literally is, the pandemic, going through that musically with my music just helped me focus more on what I need to do to step forward and to keep my momentum going forward. So hope that answered the question in a roundabout long way.
No, you did. And I like that. I like the way you answered it, because, what you said, was profound, because you had the opportunity, and I think a lot of us did during the time that we were stuck in homes, that, you had the opportunity to rethink your life and rethink about, well, how do I want to do this differently, where I can still, be a part of my music, but step up in a different way. And because you had the capability, we had no choice but to slow down. Here it is, you are writing. You're writing more than you ever have. And that's another whole project, is another whole process in your life that is going to be beneficial And, you know, it's beneficial now and it's going to be more beneficial down the road because, like you said, people are reaching out to you saying, hey, I want to co-write with you. I want you to be a part of this. And that's, you know, almost better sometimes than just having to worry about singing the songs and hoping that somebody hears it, because now you're having the opportunity to be spread around multiple people and individual who have been in the business longer and can help you continue to rise where you need to be at, you know, as a singer. So you definitely answered the question, and you are definitely going in the right direction of what you need to be doing. And even though you had some years where you weren't actually out there singing, you've never lost what you need to be doing. This is exactly where you need to be in life. And I'm very happy that you are there and you're having that capability of allowing yourself to be free again to do what you want to do. So we're getting close to the end, because I definitely want to make sure that I get your song in towards the end of the show. But I want to ask you a question. I'm sure you get this asked often, where, you know, how do you become a singer? What is it you have to do in order to be that singer you want to be? What advice would you give?
I would tell people to hone in on a genre they like. If we're looking at just what am I doing? Because I can sing everything in my job, because I sing top 40 from R&B to country. I rap, I do all of that stuff because I have to with my job. But when I was looking at how am I going to do this as a solo artist, I had to hone in on, okay, I have to pick an area of focus. And you can make one up. I mean, it doesn't have to fit in a box. So you can say, this is my style, and it's a melting whatever, but stick with that style and brand yourself. So, and work, like I said, work daily on your vocals, do proper warm-ups, we're talking about like the actual singing. And my biggest, piece of advice for people is learn to accompany yourself. If you are depending on another player, or you are depending on somebody else to do that for you, where you just sit there and sing, you have lost value. Because sometimes gigs are like, I only have, $150 to pay you. Well, if you can make the entire $150, why wouldn't you? Versus going, now I got to find a player and I'm going to cut myself short to pay somebody else so they'll come and play. Because musicians are going to have a price,
That's right.
that they're going to charge you to come and accompany you, and rehearsal time. So it's just easier to do you to start out and learn to accompany you. It makes you more independent, and you now have an instrument that can go with you everywhere. So I play piano. So when I get hired for gigs, I'll bring my piano. I've got lots of guitar playing friends. I've got a drummer. And if I can include them, I do. But if it doesn't pay a lot, I'm not going to cut my pay and devalue my talent. And it's not devalue, but monetarily.
Right.
I
Exactly.
feel like, I deserve pretty good pay for my time and my effort, because that's also wear on my vocals. So that would be my biggest piece of advice is learn to accompany yourself and work daily on your style and your branding.
All right. Well, that's a good piece of advice, because you're right. Like I said to you, sometimes, and being new in any business, and, when you're small, and being a musician is absolutely business. And I think a lot of times we all in business think that we can do everything, but then, like I said, you have to determine what you can and cannot do and how that's going to benefit you. And so you've done the right thing again, where you say, hey, I'm learning all these things so that I know what's going to work best for me. So if I need to outsource this or outsource that, I can do that, but I can also still get paid and make sure everybody else gets their part as well. So it's absolutely great
And then
advice.
just get out there and do it. Right. And just get out there and do it. Have no fear. I mean, you won't get anywhere if you don't make the first step. So just get out there and play for anybody that'll hear, that'll just willing to listen.
Well, and then nowadays too, with all the virtual reality we got going on, there's no excuses. There's no reason that you cannot get out there and just, like I said, start singing. Do whatever it is that makes you comfortable.
There are Facebook groups. Facebook groups that will listen to you.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, wow. It has been, Pamela, this has been a great conversation, and I'm so excited, and I thank you for coming on tonight. But before you go as well, please tell our listeners how they can reach you and listen to your music.
So the best way and the easiest way I tell people is just to go to my website, because every link you could ever want is on there, which is just www.PamelaHopkinsmusic.com. So PAMELAHOPKINS, the word music.com. All of my social media links, my YouTube channel, I've got official videos out there. There's pictures and photos and fun stuff on my website. So just visit it and leave your email there while you're there, and you can get, my monthly update on what's going on. And they also get, anybody who's in my fan club gets the new release before it comes out, so they get to hear it first.
All right. Woo, can't beat that. Well, again, like I said, Pamela, thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. And it's just been exciting. I love talking to you. We could talk for hours. I already know that. So.
Yes.
But we can't do
that.
Thank
you so much, Kimberly.
Oh, you're very welcome. It has been my pleasure. And for everyone else, before we end tonight's show, we're definitely going to listen to Pamela's hot song, Giving a Damn, Don't Go Without My Outfit. But before we do that, I want to always ask my listeners, what do you wish existed for you? What are you preparing yourself for? If you need help figuring that out, just reach out to me at Kimberly, WSBILC@gmail.com. And let's have a chat about your dreams and turn those dreams into goals. And let's start doing something that you want to do. If you want more, of course, of your resource for success, donate to support the podcast itself. There will be a Cash App information available for you, or just go directly to www.wsbilc.com, the website, and you can donate there. And again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We will be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or download our mobile app on Google Play or wherever you listen to your podcast. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Town people talking, not sure what they're saying. Word has it that I'm not their favorite. Feel their eyes upon me, they're not sure what they see. My attitude and my confidence, the way I wear my bling. You don't like my hair or the way I wear my jeans. A little too tight, but it feels right, and I'm okay with me. I know who don't you ever doubt it. Think what you want, say what you will, 'cause giving a damn don't go with my outfit. Y'all don't see me on Sundays, you don't think that's right. I see most of you wasted where I play on Saturday night. Now stumble to the stage, shouting living on a prayer, and all those drinks you're pounding's got you more than halfway there. You don't like my hair or the way I wear my jeans. A little too tight, but it feels right, and I'm okay with me. I know who I am, and don't you ever doubt it. Think what you want, say what you will, 'cause giving a damn don't go in my outfit. Only one judge matters, and I promise it's not you. You might want to pray a little harder the next time you're in that pew. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't like my hair or the way I wear my jeans. A little too tight, but it feels right, and I'm okay with me. Well, I know who I am, so raise your hands and shout it. Think what you want, say what you will, 'cause giving a damn don't go with my outfit.